Hey everybody, my name is Tyler Lay, and I'm so excited to be here today because I get to interview Anne Ellis. Yes, President of Ellis Global, Executive Director of the PanCal Foundation, former President of ACI. She's got some amazing stories, amazing lessons for you out there. Stay tuned, it's gonna be awesome. So now what made you want to become an engineer?
Well, I have to honestly tell you, I didn't grow up wanting to be an engineer. I'm first generation college, and all I knew was I was good at math, like a lot of engineers, and I loved math. And so I was real active in my church youth group, and the youth group advisor was a mechanical engineer. And one day we were talking, and he said, are you going to go to college? And I said, oh yeah, I'm going to go to college. He said, what are you going to study? I said, I guess math. It's the only thing I really love, and I'm good at it. And he said, oh no, you're not just going to study math. You're going to become an engineer. And I was like, what's that? I didn't even know what it was. So he came over and he sat down with my parents and I, and he explained what engineering was, why he thought it was a good time for me, a woman, to be studying engineering. And we were all so impressed that he would take the time and express enough interest in me to advocate. Was like, okay. So when I took my PSATs and my SATs, I checked that I wanted to be an engineer, and at the time they were desperate for women. So I was very heavily recruited, went to college, and found out, yeah, it's something I really enjoyed studying. So that's how I came to the industry.
That's such a cool story. That's so cool that you had somebody that reached out to you and helped you like that. I think that makes such a huge difference.
Absolutely. Mentors and champions are so vitally important for anybody.
Oh, I totally agree. So just to change gears just a second. So now you were president of the American Concrete Institute. Did they give you a crown? I mean, I think if they didn't, then I think you need a crown.
Well, thank
seriously.
you. I didn't get a crown, but I did get a bracelet.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, I know this is an amazing accomplishment, but you are also the second woman ACI president. I mean, that is such an honor. Amazing. After the great Joe Koch,
Absolutely.
right?
One of my favorite people in the whole world, a mentor and a champion.
Oh man, she is amazing. So what does the ACI president do? Other than, be awesome, right? But what else do you do? What was that experience like?
Well, first of all, it was a wonderful honor. When I got the phone call that I had been nominated, it was extraordinary. But it's a lot of work. It's a full-time job, and I already had a full-time job. So what did I do?
Yeah.
Well, when you are the president, actually vice president, president, and past president, you have a lot of ambassadorial duties. So you meet with a lot of people. You're a champion for the Institute. You're a champion for their work. You're a champion to collaborate. Technical society is really about the power of the people. And so it's about making sure that people are connected and that people can advance their ideas collaboratively and make all that happen. So I did that as the Institute's ambassador. But the other thing that people don't think about that is so vitally important, organizations like the American Concrete Institute, they really help advance an industry. They define a profession. And you need a strategic vision for an industry or for a profession. And the American Concrete Institute is not excluded from that. So the board of direction, which the president serves as the chair, has the responsibility of setting that strategic direction, implementing it, monitoring it, and correcting it, and updating it. And I had the privilege of leading that strategic planning exercise when I first came on the executive committee, and then watching it be advocated for at the Institute with the members, and then watching it unfold once it was approved. And it's got great legs, and it was developed by the members for the profession, and I think they've accomplished, the Institute has accomplished a great deal. So being a part of that and working with the members of the Institute, there was no greater satisfaction.
That's totally, what a cool story. That's awesome. What an ultimate gift to our industry. And thank you so much for your service and all your help. And I know, yeah, that's so cool. Now, I know that you've probably had lots of adventures when you're ACI president, right? And I'm sure that you can't share all the stories, but is there maybe one of your favorite stories or lessons that you could share with us?
You know, we left, whenever we visited countries that are very actively building their infrastructure, some countries that we might define as developing countries, to go there and recognize what I represented, not only as Anne Ellis of the American Concrete Institute, as the ACI president, but you represent aspirations for a country. They look at you and they realize, wow, if America did this, our country can do this too. And so every time I went to Mexico, I went to India, I traveled through Central America and South America and Southeast Asia, and you see the hopes and dreams in people's eyes. It's really extraordinary.
That's what a cool story. So now, could you talk about your experience and your career as a female engineer? I know that female engineers today, some of the students that I have, they face challenges. Of course, all students face challenges, but could you talk about some of your experience?
Sure. I came into the construction industry at an interesting time. There were women, there weren't a lot of women, and there was a push to get more women into the industry for a variety of roles, by the way. Diversity inclusion really helps improve outcomes, and I sincerely believe that, whether it's, gender, culture, race, having diversity of thought is really helpful to any project. When I came into the profession, there were a lot of advantages because I was a woman. There were also disadvantages. One that comes to mind is that every time there was a natural disaster or there was a failure of some sort, structural engineers want to go and they want to see how structures have performed. And I was never allowed to do that because the office didn't want to put the woman in harm's way. So I was disadvantaged that I couldn't go and physically see things and touch it myself, which the male engineers got to do. However, I was hanging back in the office, and now I became responsible for every project, while the guys were away. And so that put me in a unique situation professionally as well. It actually ended up being an advantage in the long run. So, every time there's a disadvantage, it's the yin and yang of life, there's something to offset it. And I think a lot of people sometimes get focused on the disadvantage and they're not looking at the advantage. And maybe it's hindsight, you have the benefit of recognizing it.
But Anne, I think that speaks to you because you took advantage of that. You noticed that and you capitalized on that. And I think that's awesome. But I totally agree with what you said earlier. I mean, so many things in life are so much better when we have different ideas, different perspectives, all coming together to bring their concepts to make it the best possible. And anyway, I'm super glad you're in our industry. And so what is an area of concrete that you think needs to be reinvented and why? I ask this to lots of different people because I'm always trying to think of different ways to do things. But what's an area of concrete that you think needs to be reinvented and why?
Well, I think actually we need to go back in some ways. Concrete is a composite material, and people now have disassociated the definition of concrete, and they think of it only as a mixture of cement, aggregate, sand, water, and chemical admixtures or chemicals, right? And as we look to the future, in particularly as technology comes to the construction site, we need to think about concrete once again as a composite and not be married to only those traditional components of concrete. I think concrete in the future maybe comprised of very different materials, and I think we're not doing ourselves any favors by hanging on to this exclusive definition.
That's cool. So, do you have anything in mind? Any specifics that you want to take away?
You mean any? No, I think more add. Looking at
Nice.
the 3D printing and the use of plastics and other materials and the use of fibers going forward. I think this could be very transformational to our product. This is along with many other potential products that could be used.
No, I think that's a really good point. So now, what advice would you give to a smart, driven person in the concrete world today?
Okay, so I think it's an extraordinarily exciting time to be in the industry because people are hungry for innovation. They're hungry for a system level conversation. People want to know, they want to understand what we do, and they want to engage us in bigger conversations, like our deteriorating infrastructure, improving infrastructure for the future. And I think infrastructure is going to look quite a bit different in the future, particularly as transport changes and as electrification changes going forward. So when you think about what we build and the transformation ahead, it's very exciting. I think in addition to building, we'll be deploying structures in the future. I think that's very exciting. So for a smart, driven person, please look for those people who are hungry for your knowledge and diversify who you're talking to. Some of the greatest opportunities that I have encountered didn't happen at an engineering organization or a construction meeting. It happened when I was, say, at the Chamber of Commerce, or when I was speaking to a legislator, or speaking to somebody who was committed to writing policy. We have a lot of valuable knowledge that they need. But they're not going to be able to find you if you're only sitting at your desk. You really have to get out and engage. And for the smart, driven person, the rewards, if you do so, are so tremendous. So that would be my advice. Get up out of your chair, get out and start talking to other people who are beneficiaries of the work that we do.
Man, I love that. I love that advice. Get out of your chair. Get out in the world. Go see people. No, I think that's right on, and I think that just speaks though that some engineers aren't as willing to go do that. I don't know if they're introverted or if they don't feel like they can contribute to those conversations. But it's great to hear your perspective and how you thought those were some of the most important ones you've ever had.
I've been real involved with policy work. Part of it is that I live here in Washington, D.C., and I know people in the policy world and the legislative world, and you just start these conversations, and the next thing you know, you're appointed to something, and you think, what could I bring to the table? And then you realize, wow, I can bring a lot about trade policy, about infrastructure spending and priorities, and the country's priorities, and we possess so much knowledge that we really don't share enough of, and the country needs it. And it's not just our country. No matter where you are in the world, your country needs it.
So what is something that you are excited about that you're working on now that you would want to share with others? Tell us about some innovative new thing you're doing.
Well, being affiliated with the Charles Pankow Foundation as their executive director, I'm involved with some really exciting things. They have an initiative built around performance-based design. It all started with performance-based seismic design, and now we just helped fund the development of the world's first pre-standard on performance-based wind design. And that was published by the ASCE Structural Engineering Institute about a couple months ago. They're getting ready to publish a document on performance-based structural fire engineering. We're doing this work in carbon, which is really exciting. In my consulting side of things, I have a client that is very involved with digitizing the industry, the communication and workflows, and that's very interesting. I've worked with a client who is bringing hydrogen dispensing to retail stations, and that's a first of a kind. What's your construction strategy? How do you even find people who are willing to take on first of a kind anywhere? And that's been really interesting. So it's a real diverse portfolio. These are the things that I do in my day job, plus I'm very involved in industry organizations, also advancing a lot of very, very interesting things, everything from STEM education with the Challenger Center to, again, how do we bring innovation forward at the National Institute of Building Standards, and I serve on some university advisories, some technology advisories, and some company advisories. So, working on a lot of cool things. There's great opportunities and diverse opportunities for engineers if you're interested.
And I knew you were busy, but my gosh, you have blown my mind with everything you're doing. That's amazing. Now, where can people find out more about what you're up to? I mean, do you have like a Twitter feed, or do you have something else, LinkedIn, or someplace they can find you to keep track of all this awesome stuff you're doing?
Yeah, well, I wish I was better on social media. I really do, but there's only so many hours in a day, and unfortunately, that often falls on the cutting room floor. The Charles Pankow Foundation website, pankofoundation.org, is a great place to go to see what we've been working on, what they have worked on in the past. It's a great repository. All the information's free. That's the cool thing about the Charles Pankow Foundation. They only fund work that goes out that's non-proprietary and it's available for the public good. And then, of course, I have AnneEllis.com, more information about me. I have EllisGlobalGroup.com about some of my consulting, and I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't publish a lot on LinkedIn, but I communicate one-on-one with a lot of people via LinkedIn. I'm very active in that way. So those are some places to check out.
Sounds like you've got a pretty big presence on the internet, and just like you do everywhere else. So, last question here. Do you have any other messages that you would like to share with my audience?
Well, I have two. A question I get asked a lot is, I've had a very rich career, and people ask me, do I have a family? And just for the women out there, yes, I do have a family. I have 3 children, grown children, and I have 3 stepchildren. I have a blended family, which I'm very blessed to have. And so, yes, I've been able to make all of that work, raising children as well as having a rich career. So I don't want to end this without sharing that, because that's something that is important to a lot of women to know. But to the wider audience, use your voice. This goes back to when I was talking about the policy work and the opportunities ahead. We possess so much valuable knowledge. Use your voice. Stand up and be heard. Even if you don't want to work on a policy level, if you want to work just within the industry, and I don't mean to diminish that. That's all wonderful things. We need bright people to be engaged and advance the industry. Use your voice. Go to organizations like ASCE, the Structural Engineering Institute, or the American Concrete Institute, or AISC. Get involved. Use your voice. Help make us brighter and better.
Boy, what a great way to end. And thank you for your voice, and thank you for using it so loudly and clearly, and sharing your vision and your, I don't know, all that you do. We thank you so much. And with that, hey, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you have any ideas for other people I should interview, please reach out to me and leave me a comment below. I do read them. And of course, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Take care. Bye.